Okay, so today we're going to talk about jibing, and first we're going to go over the points of sail. Jibing is when you go from one broad reach to another broad reach, and you can see here is one broad reach to another. So this is the broad reach that we're in right now, and we're going to go to the other side. A broad reach is when your boat is sailing downwind and it's about 45 degrees off the wind line. And so right now you can see the boom and the mainsail are pushed over to the port side of the boat, and you can see where the boom is relative, which is the dash line relative to this blue center line of the boat. We're headed down the light blue and red arrow, which is our wind line. And so here we go. And we're doing a jibe, which is a turn across the wind line going downwind. And so here is our boat, and we're jibing here as we get to our goal, which is that red channel buoy. It's almost directly downwind. And that's kind of a jibe. We went from 145-degree angle from the wind line to the other side, which is a different 45-degree angle from the wind line. And we're going to talk about how to do that. One starboard broad reach to a port broad reach in this example. This is our boat with our boom out, catching the wind at about a 90-degree angle, or 45 degrees from the boat. And so as we go down, we're going to go down the wind line, and as we do that, we're going to start sheeting in. So we're going to pull our main sheet, which will bring our boom closer to that blue center line. And there's a maneuver to do that where you take the helmsman will take their front hand and haul the main sheet to their tiller hand, and then grab from their tiller hand and continue hauling the main sheet in so that they can keep one hand on the tiller while sheeting in. You can kind of see that in this video here. Pulling the main sheet in while keeping control of the tiller. That's kind of the maneuver that you would do as you go downwind and are starting to prepare to jibe. So here we are going downwind. This is kind of a more up close view of that above hand pulling and bringing it to the tiller hand so you can keep control of the boat. All right, so here we are at the top of our wind line, and we do not have to worry about the no sail zone here because we're actually facing the opposite way. So we're not in the no sail wedge. We don't have to worry about going into irons, but we're about to make our jibe. So here we are going down the wind line. We're headed down. This is our boom. It's kind of pushed over right now. And you can see it relative to our center line. It's about a 45-degree angle there, and that's us being on a broad reach. So it's at this 45-degree angle, so the wind can really be catching the sail and giving us forward motion since we're at a 45-degree angle. But we're going to begin to sheet in. And this is kind of showing how you would bring your hands over to do that again. But overall, as we sheet in, our goal is to time it out so that when the center line is aligned with the wind line as we turn around or turn over, that the boom is also aligned. So we want the wind line, the center line, and the boom all aligned to the center of the boat when we get ourselves directly downwind. And so we're going to continue to pull in and sheet in our main sheet so that we can get that alignment and kind of try to pace the turn and match the speed of our sheeting in so we can get those three things aligned. So we're pulling in. Here we go. Our boom is getting closer to our center line. And as it gets about halfway to our center line from that 45-degree angle, it's going to begin to luff, which is that flag fluttering in the wind rapidly kind of movement in a sail, luffing. So it's beginning to luff. We're going to continue sheeting it in, try to get everything aligned. So now the center line and the wind line are aligned. Ideally, the boom would be directly over the center line here as well, but it's being pulled by the wind from its original position, a little bit more port again. So as the mainsail begins to luff, the helmsman is going to prepare to transition over to the new windward side, which is in this case going to be the port side of the cockpit. Because the helmsman always wants to be helming from the windward side of the boat. So as the windward side changes over, they have to kind of move over as well. But you will continue turning across the wind line as you move in the cockpit. And so here, now the boom is on the center line. Our helmsman has moved over, and you can prepare to ease the mainsheet with control as the winds feel the mainsail and it pushes it the opposite direction of where it was. So the boom's gonna move over the center line and go the other way. So now it's beginning to fill the mainsail. We're making a little bit of way, moving the boom and the main sheet, the other side of the boat. It's important that you let this sheet out with control. And it's also important to maintain that you're heading down the wind line because the boat will try to turn hard to port, which is called rounding up if you don't make sure to continue heading down the wind line in this spot. So we're heading out. The boom is making its way across the center line to the other side. And this is kind of what it looks like as the boom crosses over the center line and goes onto the opposite side of the boat. You'll also be able to see in this video the helmsman changing over positions onto the windward side of the boat while continuing to control the tiller. You can see it again. It goes over. The helmsman changes positions to the windward side of the boat, keeping their hands on the tiller and the main sheet. And so here we are. We're going to keep traveling down. And let's stop and talk about what's so dangerous about driving. And that is that the wind is fickle. It can change in velocity and directions. And sometimes those changes can be dramatic. And if for instance, the boom was far out to the port side and you turned your boat across the wind line, a sudden gust could push the mainsail far to the other side of the boat, to the starboard side, with tremendous power. So basically, if what we just watched happened uncontrolled and incredibly fast, the boom moving over the cockpit that super fast could potentially hit a crew member if they weren't able to duck in time, and this could severely and even fatally injure them. The boom, heading with a bunch of speed and power, could strike and break the shroud on the far side, and this could cause the mast to fall, which would be very scary. The boom's gooseneck could be pulled free from the mast. Then you would have a thrashing mainsail and boom that would be really difficult to control. So, jibing properly and in control is important. And this is what it would look like if there was a wind gust. You would have an accidental jibe where the boom would travel very fast from one side to the other side of those two dotted lines. That could be very dangerous. But that did not happen here. We pulled our boom into the center line when we were about going downwind from the wind line, and then we eased it out gently. So we successfully jibed, and now we are on a broad reach facing the other side. We went from one broad reach to the other. So now the wind is coming over the port side, and we're 45 degrees from the wind line, but the other 45 degrees. There we go, sailing on.